Hello, dear children. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Jisha Joe. In this session, we shall continue with our discussion of the part 2 of Mega MCQ series. Okay, children, let us continue with our discussion of the MCQs in the Mega MCQ series, part 2. Which among the following is not a phase of mitosis? Options are metaphase, B. Prophase, C. Interphase, and D. Anaphase. Okay, the phases of mitosis we know: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase are the four phases of mitosis. So, which is not a phase of mitosis? We can easily identify it as option C. Interphase. Okay. Next question. Which among the following is not a dominant trait? Which is not a dominant trait? Options are yellow seed color, purple flower color, yellow pod color, and round seed shape. Which is not a dominant trait? Okay, look at the options. Yellow seed color, we know it is a dominant trait. The recessive trait is green. Purple flower color again is a dominant trait. Recessive trait is white flower color. Yellow pod color is a recessive trait. The dominant trait for pod color is green. And round seed shape again is a dominant trait, and its recessive trait is wrinkled. So, which is the correct answer? Which among the following is not a dominant trait? Correct answer is option C, yellow pod color. Next question. The site of biosynthetic phase of photosynthesis. What is meant by biosynthetic phase? It is the light independent phase or the dark reaction is otherwise called as the biosynthetic phase of photosynthesis. Which is the site of this phase of photosynthesis? Options are thylakoid, stroma, chlorophyll, inner membrane of chloroplast. Which is the correct answer? Have you guessed the answer? Option B, stroma. Stroma is the site of dark reaction or biosynthetic phase of photosynthesis, whereas the light reaction occurs in the thylakoids. Next question. Most of the transpiration in tall trees occur through. Options are stomata, cuticle, lenticel, hydathode. Remember, always the most amount, the highest rate of transpiration occurs, whether it is in the case of tall trees or in the case of small plants, the highest rate of transpiration occurs through stomata. So, the correct answer is option A, stomata. Next question. The bond present between the complementary nitrogenous bases in DNA. We know which are the nitrogenous bases present in DNA: adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. Okay, question is the bond present between the complementary nitrogenous bases in DNA. Options are nitrogen bond, B. peptide bond, C. hydrogen bond, D. carbon bond. Which is the correct answer? Option C, hydrogen bond. The bond present between complementary nitrogenous bases in DNA is the hydrogen bond. There are two bonds between adenine. We know adenine always pairs with thymine. It is a double bond that is formed between adenine and thymine, and cytosine always forms a triple bond with guanine. Okay, so it is the hydrogen bond that is formed. Option C, hydrogen bond. Next question. Radiating rays seen surrounding each centriole: asters, spindle fibers, centrosome, centromere. Which is the correct answer? The correct answer is asters. Asters are the radiating rays seen surrounding each centriole. We know a centrosome is a structure that is present only in an animal cell, and a centrosome has two centrioles. These centrioles are rod-shaped structures. They are placed at right angles to each other in a centrosome. So, radiating rays seen surrounding each centriole of a centrosome is the aster. Asters are the radiating rays. Okay, so the correct answer is option A, asters. Number of chromatids in a duplicated chromosome. We know a chromosome undergoes duplication during the S phase of interphase. And what happens to the chromatids in a duplicated chromosome? Each chromosome will have two arms which are called as the chromatids, joined at the region called as the centromere. So what is the number of chromatids in a duplicated chromosome? Look at the options: 4, 1, 2, 8. The correct answer is option C, 2. Okay, there will be 2 chromatids in a duplicated chromosome. Next question. The phase during which the duplicated chromosomes start moving towards the towards the equator of the cell. The phase during which the duplicated chromosomes start moving towards the equator of the cell. Which is the phase? Options are prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Okay, here read the question properly. The phase during which the duplicated chromosomes start moving towards the equator. So, when the duplicated chromosomes start to move towards the equator by the end of prophase. Okay, so the correct answer is option A, prophase. Prophase is the correct answer. The duplicated chromosomes are aligned at the equator during which phase? It is during metaphase. But they start to move towards the equator during prophase. Hope it is clear to all of you. Next question. The cells that do not divide further enter into a resting phase at the end of. So, certain cells which do not divide further, it enters into a resting phase. So, this entry of the cell into the resting phase is at the end of which phase? That is the question. Options are S phase, M phase, G1 phase, G2 phase. Okay. So, here which is the correct answer? Do you know the correct answer? Correct answer is option C, G1 phase. It is at the end of G1 phase the cell enters into the resting phase, because after the G1 phase is the S phase. What happens during the S phase? During S phase, synthesis of DNA takes place. If the cell is not entering into another division, there is no need of duplication of the DNA or duplication of chromosomes. Synthesis or the duplication of chromosomes take place so that after cell division, the chromosomes are equally distributed to the daughter cells. Correct. So, if the cell is not entering into the division phase, it need not enter into the S phase. So, it is at the end of G1 phase. G1 is the first phase of interphase. Correct. G1 phase, S phase, and G2 phases these are the phases of interphase. So, it is at the end of G1 phase the cell enters into the resting phase if it is not undergoing further division. But if the cell is undergoing further division, then it naturally has to enter into the S phase because it has to duplicate its DNA. So, I hope it is clear to all. Next question. Uncontrolled cell divisions lead to A, organ formation, B, growth, C, tumor formation, D, gamete formation. Uncontrolled cell divisions lead to, what is the correct answer? Correct answer is tumor formation. Okay, tumor formation. Option C, tumor formation is the correct answer. Next question. Which among the following are the cells which once formed in the embryo do not divide further? Options are brain cells, skin cells, liver cells, germ cells. Which is the correct answer? Which once formed in the embryo, they do not divide further. The correct answer is option A, brain cells. Okay, brain cells or the nerve cells do not further divide. Once they are formed in the embryo, they do not divide further. Next question. New cells need to be produced except for. Options are A, repair, B, growth, C, reproduction, D, respiration. New cells need to be produced except for. So, the correct answer is option D, respiration. For all the other processes, repair of body cells, growth of the body, reproduction, for all these, cell division is necessary. New cells are being produced except for respiration. The stage of interphase prior to prophase. Prior to means that comes before. Okay, we know prophase is the first phase of mitosis or M phase. So here the question is the stage of interphase prior to prophase. Which are the stages of interphase? They are G1 phase, S phase and G2 phase. Okay. So options are G1 phase, M phase, G2 phase and S phase. Which is the correct answer? Have you guessed the answer? The stage of interphase prior to prophase. The correct answer is option C, G2 phase. Why do we say that? The first phase of interphase is the G1 phase. It comes just after the formation of a new cell. At the end of cell division, once a new cell is formed, the cell enters into the G1 phase. Then if the cell is not dividing further, at the end of G1 phase, it will enter into the resting stage. But if the cell is dividing further, then from the G1 phase, it enters into the second phase of interphase, which is the S phase, where synthesis of DNA or the duplication of the chromosomes take place. Then comes the G2 phase, where more amount of RNA and proteins etc. are produced. The cell organelles duplicate. So all these take place in the G2 phase, and after the G2 phase, the M phase or the mitotic phase begins. The first phase of mitosis is prophase. So the correct answer is option C, G2 phase. Next question, crossing over takes place between. What is crossing over? Crossing over refers to the exchange of genetic material taking place between. Okay, options are sister chromatids of a chromosome, non-sister chromatids of homologous chromosomes, C, chromatids of any two paternal chromosomes, D, chromatids of any two maternal chromosomes. So always remember, crossing over takes place between non-sister chromatids of homologous chromosomes. Now what are these homologous chromosomes? Homologous chromosomes are chromosomes of the same size and shape, one from each parent. So it will be a pair of homologous chromosomes, means one of the chromosome will be a paternal chromosome, that is a chromosome coming from the father, and the other will be a maternal chromosome, which means a chromosome from the mother. Okay, so crossing over or the exchange of genetic material takes place between non-sister chromatids of homologous chromosomes. Sister chromatids of chromosomes refer to the two chromatids of the same chromosome. But non-sister chromatids are chromatids of two different chromosomes. Okay, here one is from the father, the paternal chromosome, and the other chromosome is from the mother or the maternal chromosome. So crossing over takes place between non-sister chromatids of homologous chromosomes. The correct answer is option B, non-sister chromatids of homologous chromosomes. Next question, histones are. Options are nucleic acid, nucleotides, nucleosomes and proteins. Which is the correct answer there? Histones are proteins. Where are they? Where do we find these histones? Histones are proteins that are present in the chromatin. Okay, the basic components of the chromatin include the DNA and the histone proteins. Okay, histones are found in the chromatin. They are proteins that help in the coiling or the packaging of the DNA into units called nucleosomes. So the correct answer is option D, proteins. All the others we know, we have discussed it several times, so I am not planning to repeat it again. Next question, question 41. Which among the following shows correct base pairing? We have already discussed such a type of question before. So we know there are 4 nitrogen bases present in DNA. Which are the 4 bases? Adenine, thymine, cytosine and guanine. And I have already told you adenine pairs with thymine, cytosine pairs with guanine. So which among the following shows correct base pairing? Options are adenine pairs with thymine by 2 hydrogen bonds, adenine pairs with guanine by 3 hydrogen bonds, Thymine pairs with cytosine by 3 hydrogen bonds. Cytosine pairs with guanine by 2 hydrogen bonds. So looking at the options itself, we can see B, C and D are wrong options. Adenine always pairs with thymine. Adenine cannot pair with guanine. Thymine cannot pair with cytosine. Adenine always pairs with thymine, and cytosine always pairs with guanine. But look at the bonds formed between the nitrogen bases. Adenine and thymine pairs by 2 hydrogen bonds, whereas cytosine and guanine pairs by 3 hydrogen bonds. So the correct answer is option A. Adenine pairs with thymine by 2 hydrogen bonds. Cytokinesis in plant cells occur by, cytokinesis is the division of cytoplasm. In plant cells occur by, options are cleavage furrow formation from the center to the periphery, B, cell plate formation from the center to the periphery, C, cleavage furrow formation from the periphery to the center, and D, cell plate formation from the periphery to the center. So cell plate formation, always remember, in plant cells cytokinesis occurs by the formation of cell plates. How are the cell plates formed? The cell plates are formed from the center of the cell towards the two sides to the periphery. Okay, so the correct answer is option B, cell plate formation from the center to the periphery. And remember, in animal cell, cytokinesis occurs by the formation of cleavage furrows. How are the cleavage furrows formed? From the periphery to the center. Okay, cleavage furrows are formed from the periphery to the center, whereas cell plate formation, it occurs in plant cells and it occurs from the center to the periphery. Don't get confused between the two. Next question. The sex of an individual depends on, options are A, the type of egg which is fertilized, B, the type of sperm which fertilizes the egg, C, the number of autosomes, and D, both egg and sperm. Which is the correct answer? Have you guessed the answer? The option B is the correct answer. Sex of an individual depends upon the type of sperm which fertilizes the egg. That is why, what is the reason for that? Because we know there are two types of sperms that are produced. Half of the sperm contain X chromosome, the other half containing Y chromosome. Okay, so if it is the X containing sperm that fertilizes the egg, it will be the offspring, or the individual will be a female, whereas if the Y containing sperm fertilizes the egg, then the individual will be a male. So it is the type of sperm which fertilizes the egg determines the sex of an individual. Next question. The full complement of DNA of an organism. Options are gene, allele, genome, genotype. Okay, which is the correct answer? We have discussed all these in previous MCQs. So you just guess the answer. Which is the correct answer? The full complement of DNA, including all the genic and intergenic regions. So which is that full complement of DNA of an organism called as? It is the genome. Okay, it includes all the gene, not only the gene containing parts, but all the genic or genes as well as the intergenic regions of an organism is called as the genome. So the correct answer is option C, genome. Next question. Which among the following is not a semi-permeable membrane? A semi-permeable membrane, we know it allows only selected molecules to pass through it. Okay, options are cellophane paper, B, muslin cloth, C, egg membrane, D, animal bladder. The first glance itself, you should know that it is muslin cloth which is not a freely permeable, semi-permeable membrane. Muslin cloth is an example of a freely permeable membrane because it allows all molecules to pass through it. Okay, so the correct answer is option B, muslin cloth. Muslin cloth is not a semi-permeable membrane, while all the others can be used as semi-permeable membranes. Next question. This comes from genetics. You can expect such question. Okay, a pea plant having inflated pod is crossed with one having constricted pod. Here the genotype is already given. Okay, so pea plant having inflated pod, capital I is crossed with pea plant having constricted pods. The genotype is given as small I, small I. Question is, what will be the phenotype of the F1 progeny? You already know the difference between genotype and phenotype and all. We have discussed it several times. So here, so what are the gametes produced by this plant? This plant produces all the gametes of one type. All the gametes produced will have capital I. Isn't it? Capital I, capital I. These are the gametes produced by this parent. Capital I. That is a comma which I have put there. Okay. And what are the gametes produced by? So gametes are always put in circles. And the gametes produced by this parent, what are the gametes produced? Small I. Okay, that is small I put in circle, that is the gamete, and small I. Again it is circled. So all the gametes produced by this parent contain capital I. All the gametes produced by the second parent, the parent or the pea plant having constricted pods, will have small I. Now draw the Punnett square. Please excuse because I am not so proficient in drawing like this. Gametes of one parent written on one side, capital I, written on one side, and small I on the other side. Gametes of the other parent written on the other side. Okay, hope that much is clear. Now, what are the genotypes? Genotypes of the the offsprings will be written in the subsquare. So, this will contain capital I, small I. What about this? Again, capital I, small I. What about this column? Capital I, small I. Correct? No? Hope there is no confusion in that. Then this also capital I, small I. So here the question is, what will be the phenotype of the F1 progeny? Look at the options. All plants will be inflated pods. All plants with constricted pods. All will be intermediate between the two. D, half of the plants will be with inflated pods and the other half with constricted pod. Look at the genotype capital I, small I. It is heterozygous condition. So what will be the phenotype? All the plants will be with inflated pods, correct? Because inflated condition is the dominant trait, and dominant trait can occur in the homozygous condition capital I, or in the heterozygous condition capital I, small I. So here in the F1 progeny, all the offsprings have the genotype capital I, small I, which is heterozygous inflated. So all the plants, the phenotype, what we can see, the observable feature, that is the phenotype. Okay, all plants with inflated pods. So that is the correct answer, option A. All the plants will be with inflated pods. Next question, a cell bursts when placed in a solution. What is the tonicity of the solution? So here a cell is placed in a particular type of solution, and the cell burst after it is placed in the solution. How does the cell burst? It is because of the inward entry of water into the cell. Inward entry means, or inward diffusion means, endosmosis have taken place, isn't it? So when does endosmosis take place? When the cell is placed in a hypotonic solution. Water moves. What is osmosis? The movement of water from its region of its higher concentration to a region of its lower concentration. So water moves from where it is at a higher concentration to a region where it is at a lower concentration. So when does endosmosis take place? When the cell is placed in a hypotonic solution. Okay, a solution whose concentration is less than that of the cell sap. So a solution whose concentration is less than that of the cell sap contains more amount of water in it. Okay, so water moves from the solution into the cell. End osmosis will take place and the cell becomes turgid and finally it bursts. So, what is the tonicity of the solution? I have already told the answer. The correct answer is option A, hypotonic solution. Okay. Next question, the pressure which causes water to move into the cell due to the osmotic concentration of the cell contents. What is that pressure? Options are Turger pressure, osmotic pressure, wall pressure and imbibition pressure. Okay, Turger pressure, we know it occurs in a turgid cell. When the cell contents exert a pressure on the cell wall, then that pressure is called Turger pressure. What is wall pressure? Again, wall pressure occurs in a turgid cell. As the cell contents exert a pressure on the cell wall exerts an equal and opposite pressure on the cell contents. This pressure is called as the wall pressure. And what is osmotic pressure? The pressure that develops in a solution as a result of or as due to the presence of dissolved solutes in it. That is osmotic pressure. And imbibition pressure is the pressure that is developed in the imbibance as a result of the process of imbibition. So here the question is the pressure which causes water to move into the cell due to the osmotic concentration of the cell contents. Answer is, you might have got the answer already. Correct answer is option B, osmotic pressure. Next question, which among the following is diploid? Okay, diploid. Options are egg cell, pollen grain, sperm cell, skin cell. Okay, egg cell, sperm cell, pollen grain, they are all haploid. Only the skin cells are diploid. So the correct answer is option D, skin cells. Next question, forests contribute in bringing rain by, options are bleeding, transpiration, guttation, all the above. Which is the correct answer? Forests contribute in bringing rain by the process of transpiration. Yes, it is transpiration. Correct answer is option B, transpiration. So children, with this we come to the end of this session. If you have any doubts regarding any of the questions which we have discussed, please ask your doubts and give your suggestions in the comment section. Stay tuned for the Mega MCQ series part 3. Thank you.